ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Generation Millennium! I am your host, Jeffro Madness. If this is my first podcast ever, I'll be discussing what I really enjoy doing in my spare time. But I'll share some personal information. I'm a fan of anime, manga, and video games. I'm not hardcore, but I do spend a lot of time watching and reading this stuff. So in terms of anime, I enjoy things like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, in the trading card game, as well as Cardcaptor Sakura, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Ranma 1/2, Fish Yugi Yugi, Fairy Tail, and a lot more others. There's just so many animes out there, it's impossible to list them all. And I don't really feel like reading off any kind of script. But in terms of video games, which takes up even more of my time, I like the Final Fantasy franchise, more specifically 7, 9, and 10. I'll probably do an episode on those some other time. Spyro the Dragon, and I really do like the Reunite trilogy. Toys for Bob did a great job on those. As well as the Tales series, and Super Smash Bros., which just came out in December of 2018. That was very fun. But the main thing I will be discussing on this podcast and for this first episode is Pokemon. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go back and look at the very first things and where the game started. So it's time to take a trip to the Kanto region. So we got first started in Generation 1, Red and Blue and Yellow, or if you're in Japan, Red and Green, which first came out in 1996, followed by Pokemon Yellow, which was released later, back in 1998, and then internationally, in North America, or other countries, Red and Blue were released in 1998 as well. So the Pokemon franchise has been out for, it's been over 20 years, and I've had lots of fun with this franchise, and lots of time wasted. I'm pretty sure my Pokemon save files are maxed out 99 hours, 59 minutes. But we're here to discuss, more importantly, the Pokemon themselves, because they're really the stars of the game series. So the real question begins on how to get the Pokemon. So then, Pokemon are located in many places in these games, and the company that developed Pokemon, Game Freak, really did a great job in diversifying and making where you can catch these little critters. So they can be found in tall grass for the most part, but also in caves, surfing, receive as gifts, fishing with rods, or you can even go to the Safari Zone to find them, interact with them, or you can even earn them as prizes. Game Freak was very weird about how Pokemon can be, you can trade in money for coins and then earn Pokemon as prizes. Hoo-wee, gambling as a kid. It's a dream come true. Not. But at any rate, the tall grass. Essentially, anytime you walk into any of these areas, Pokemon just randomly show up, and then you can battle them. And in order to catch these Pokemon, they start with a health bar, which usually is colored in green, and then when you deal Pokemon damage, the health bar goes down. And then once it gets a halfway point, it's in the yellow, critical is red, and when it's in red, that's when it's a good time to catch the Pokemon, because the weaker Pokemon are, the easier they are to catch, or so the game tells you. It's not always the case, because catching Pokemon, you need Pokeballs, and Pokeballs come in all different strengths. There's the original Pokeball, which you can buy in any Pokemon marts in the beginning of the game for 200 Pokédollars, or yen, depending on if you want to be specific about what the currency is originally called. And as you get later in the game, you can reach Lavender Town, which is the first opportunity to buy Great Balls, or 600 yen, or Pokédollars. And then once you get to Fuchsia City, you can find the Ultra Balls for 1,200 Pokédollars. So yeah, there's a little funny thing about that actually. You see, Great Balls only have a 1.5 times better chance of catching Pokemon than a regular Pokeball, and then the Ultra Balls only have 2 times stronger chance of catching Pokemon. So yeah, you're spending for Ultra Balls 6 times the amount of money for a regular Pokemon, and only 2 times the effectiveness. Is it worth it? If you're just catching regular Pokemon, yeah. The stronger ones, we'll get to that one a bit later. But, as I mentioned, Pokemon can be found in other locations than tall grass. They can also be found in caves and surfing in other locations. But the caves and surfing are the real issues that some players really begin to really not like, because when you enter caves or you're surfing on the water, every single time you take a step forward, there's a random chance to get into a wild encounter. And that can get really irritating and really annoying really fast. So let's say you're just walking around a cave and, oh hey, it's an Onix. Okay, I don't want to battle this thing right now. Okay, I'll just run away from the battle. And then you just take 2 steps forward and bam! Another wild encounter. And it's a Zubat. Okay, I don't want to battle this thing. Run away. 5 more steps later, it's another Zubat. And this has really started a meme online. If you were to go onto like YouTube and then research like, what are the top 10 things that annoy me in a Pokemon game? Funny thing, people would sometimes just say, Zubats! Because you come across so many of them when you're walking around. They just won't leave you alone. So that's where repels come into the equation. You can buy these things relatively, well, I wouldn't say early in the game, maybe 2/8 in the game, when you get to Cerulean City, which is the second main town or city in the game. And you can buy repels. They do exactly what you do. You buy, it's best to buy them in a group, but then when you use one, you keep wild Pokemon away from you for a limited amount of time. At least that's what the game tells you. In reality, that's not how repels work. You see, for instance, if your Pokemon was, say, your starter Pokemon, Bulbasaur is level 15, and then you use a repel, it only keeps Pokemon who are level 15 and then lower away from you. So if the area has any level 15 or higher Pokemon, then, unfortunately, repels will only keep their lower ones away. You'll still come across the stronger ones. But it's actually a double-edged sword you can use. While it keeps the weaker ones away, if you know there's a Pokemon of a higher level in the area you can use a repel, walk around for a bit, and then you can force the stronger ones to appear. So if you're looking for a specific Pokemon of a higher level, that's a nice way you can force them out into the open. It may take a while running back and forth for several seconds, but it's worth it in the end if you're trying to complete the Pokédex, which is actually another thing of the game that's originally in Red and Blue. The reason why you go on your adventure is because the region's professor, Professor Oak, he wants you to complete the Pokédex for him, an electronic encyclopedia that, for the most part, records any all Pokemon you either see, encounter in the game, but also records which ones you catch. And that's the main goal of the game, to be able to catch as many Pokemon, or all of them as you can, which actually sparked the slogan of the game back when the games were first released. Gotta catch them all! So, how do you catch them all? Well, first off, you need to know where to find them, which is why I mentioned the things I mentioned earlier. Finding Pokemon in the tall grass, in the caves, while surfing, receiving them as gifts, fishing, going to the Safari Zone, or you can actually find them out in the open on the world map. You just talk to them and then you initiate a battle. But those are for specific Pokemon, and again, I'll be discussing more in detail later. And then, like I said, the Game Corner prizes. So you need to literally travel across the land, searching far and wide for these little critters. Well, only the original ones are little. The later ones get way bigger. But as you travel throughout the region, you come across so many different kinds of Pokemon. And then when you battle them, you just really have to get to know the Pokemon game in order to get used to it. So when you start up the game, you get introduced to Professor Oak. He takes you to his laboratory. You get the choice of 3 starter Pokemon. Bulbasaur, who is a grass and poison type, Charmander, the fire type, and then Squirtle, the water type. And it's actually very interesting because the first generation of Pokemon the creatures themselves were based off of genetics and artificial engineering, which is why, to starters, Bulbasaur is like a plant, used as like a dinosaur. Charmander himself is like a lizard dragon kind of creature, and then Squirtle, well, he's a turtle or tortoise, depending on your definition, how technical you want to get with it. But then after you choose your starter, you have a rival character, which according to Professor Oak has been rivals with you since you were babies, and well, it's kind of hard to imagine what you and some other next door kid of yours could have been discussing when you were still in diapers. But your rival chooses the Pokemon that's strong against yours, and that's actually where Pokemon gets really interesting because the type matchups. So for instance, you say you chose the fire type Charmander for your starter, since water is super effective, strong against the fire type Charmander, then you're going to be at a disadvantage later on in the game. And at the beginning, your Pokemon only know 2 moves, and that's actually where things get interesting. Pokemon can know a total of up to 4 moves in the game. And you start off the game with just the 2 moves, an offensive move and a support move. And that's where the game actually gets really interesting and fleshed out with its strategy and in-depth battle mechanics, because you really need to give your Pokemon a well-balanced, a versatile moveset, for lack of a better term. So, how do you get a well-balanced moveset? Well, when you first get your starters, they're level 5, and then you travel through the region, you battle against other wild Pokemon you come across in the wild, whether it be in tall grass, cave surfing, all that stuff again. So then you battle the Pokemon, and this is where things really get intense, because whether you're catching them or just battling them, when you defeat Pokemon, you gain experience, and as your Pokemon gains experience, they eventually level up. And this is where Pokemon can get either really easy or really challenging, because depending on your levels, the game can really get really balanced if you want to like balance out your entire team, or if you can just want to get through the game really fast, you can just use your starter and just literally just charge through the game with only your starter. And, well, it really depends on your style of play. Me, personally, I prefer a more balanced team because I watched the anime as a kid, and honestly, I really liked how Ash really liked to treat all of his Pokemon equally, and I want to do the same way. So I didn't want to just give all my attention only to my starter, which in this case, I chose Pokemon Blue for my game, and I started with Squirtle. So I want to give all my Pokemon equal attention, even though there's a stat later on introduced called Friendship. And I didn't want to neglect my Pokemon later on, but in the original game, I didn't know that stat existed, so I want to give all my Pokemon equal time and attention. So for me, this is where Pokemon really becomes a bit of an, I guess say, I wouldn't say irritation, but it becomes what's known as grinding. And that's where a lot of time can be spent, grinding with wild Pokemon. I'd say, after you leave your hometown, which you get the game, in Palatown, you get through Route 1, then you get to Viridian City, past Viridian City, you get to Route 2, and you enter what's known as Viridian Forest, your first technical dungeon of Kanto. And here you can find a lot of Pokemon. If you're playing in Pokemon Red version, you'll come across a lot of Weedle and Kakuna. If you're playing Pokemon Green, or Blue in North America, you'll come across a lot of Caterpie and Metapods. And it's the Kakuna and Metapods you really want to look out for, because these guys give a lot more experience. Because, well, you want to level your Pokemon as fast as you possibly can, because if you spend too much time, then you're going to be wasting time, you're going to get bored, and that's what Pokemon's about. You want to battle against the other Pokemon, especially ones owned by trainers like yourself. So, yeah, don't waste too much time grinding, or the game will get really boring. You'll just start falling asleep on your bed or at your desk, whatever you're doing. So then, once you begin leveling up, you actually learn something more about the game. Your Pokemon can actually evolve once certain conditions are met. For your starter, for example, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle, they evolve when they get to level 16. And then later on, they evolve again at level 36 into their final forms. Yep, Pokemon can have final forms, and some of them even have secondary stages. So, level 36 may not sound all that hard to achieve, but trust me, it takes a while to grind up to that point in the game. So that's where things really get interesting. So back to the Pokédex idea. Pokemon is actually very interesting, and it's, well, gotta catch them all factor, because in all honesty, it's impossible to just buy one copy of the game and think, oh, I can catch them all now. Yeah, I can complete that goal. Nope. Game Freak was either very friendly or very cruel to children back in the 90s, and even now so. But back then it was even harder because link cables with the Game Boys and Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advances, not everyone has access to a link cable. Because trying to convince your parents to get yourself just a console itself, it's already a bit of a challenge, because if you had parents like mine, your education came first. So therefore, just buying the console itself along with the game cartridge, that was more than enough in their eyes for you. Buying an accessory like link cable is just like, what's the point? Or are you going to come across someone who has another game you can trade with? So then the main topic then becomes, just how many Pokemon can you capture in one save file? Well, let's start with the main number. So according to the PokeApp, there's 150 Pokemon or more to see, reference to later generations. So then you have 150 Pokemon. And just to let you know, I'm not counting Mew, because Mew is technically not legitimately obtainable in the first generation. So we start with the 150, but unfortunately, the number is already going down by 6. Because when you start up the game, you can only choose one starter. So therefore, the other 2 starters and their evolutions are not available, and you cannot get them anywhere else in the game. So therefore, you're already down by 6, down to 144. But then you get even more choices later on, because main reason the game comes in sets of 2, for instance, red and green, or red and blue in North America, is because each game has exclusive Pokemon, version exclusives. And these Pokemon differ from generation to generation, but for red and blue, or red and green, Pokemon differ from, well, the versions. So for red version, the Pokemon that are exclusive are the Ekans and Arbok lines, Oddish, Gloom and Vileplume, Mankey and Primeape, Growlithe and Arcanine, Scyther, and Electabuzz. Those Pokemon are not found in green or blue version. And if you're playing Pokemon in green or blue, the Sandshrew and Sandslash line, Vulpix and Ninetales line, Meowth and Persian, along with Bellsprout, Weepinbell, Victreebel, Magmar, and Pinsir are exclusive to Pokemon green or blue, meaning you can't find them in red. So then, reason why the game came in 2 sets is because Game Freak wanted to really encourage interactions with other players. Therefore, they make some Pokemon only found in one version, so then you have to go out into the world, track someone down with the other version, and then hopefully hope with all your dignity, heart, and soul that the other person has the Pokemon that you're looking for. And then usually this is how trading works. Like for instance, in red version, you caught yourself an Ekans, and you find someone with a Pokemon green or blue version who has a Sandshrew. So then you trade their Sandshrew for your Ekans, and voila, you got the other version exclusive that you don't have. So now you can then level up that Sandshrew, and your Pokemon version becomes a Sandslash. There, you fill out 2 more spots in your Pokedex. But unfortunately, if you did not have access to another Pokemon version, then unfortunately your roster is going to be cut down by quite a bit. Because like I said, there are other Pokemon in the game that cannot be obtained because you have choices. Game Freak forces you to make choices that cuts down the number of Pokemon you can obtain in one save file. So other than version exclusive, after you leave Pewter City, you get to Route 3 and then you enter Mount Moon. And inside Mount Moon, you find this nerd, or fossil maniac. And after you defeat him, he offers you to choose a fossil. Only one. Therefore, if you choose one fossil, the other one is unavailable to you, and also its evolution line. So then you lose out on 2 more Pokemon that way. So for both red and blue, they each had 11 Pokemon exclusives, which brings the number from 144 down to 133, and then with the fossils, that brings the number down to 131. And then I mentioned gift Pokemon earlier. There are some Pokemon in the game that are given to you as gifts, or in this case, just sitting on a table and just waiting for you to grab it. In this case, once you get to Celadon City, you can find an Eevee there. Yeah, anyone who's familiar with Let's Go Eevee, yeah, free Pokemon! But here's the catch, you're going to get one Eevee in the game. Meaning, its evolutionary lines, Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon, you can only choose one of them because you only get one Eevee, therefore you only have access to one of the evolutions. Meaning that 2 more of the evolutions are unavailable to you, bringing our number down to 129. And then there are even more choices. Well, actually this is your last choice. And this is one is done in the Saffron City Fighting Dojo. Once you defeat the Karate Master there, you get a choice between either Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee. Once again, you only get to choose one of them, which brings your number down to 128. But even still, we're still not done because Game Freak wanted to increase the communication between players even more. In order to do that, they made some Pokemon that can only be obtained through evolution. Or in this case, the Pokemon can only evolve through trading, to be more specific. Those Pokemon, they are Machoke, Graveler, Hunter, and Kadabra. And since they only evolve through trading, yeah, you cannot get them through with a single save file. So the number drops down from 128 to 124. So yeah, 124 out of 150. That is roughly 82.66, or if you want to round it up, 83% of the Pokemon you can obtain in a single save file. Not a horrible number, but it's still kind of soul-crushing as a kid. You hear that slogan, gotta catch 'em all, and then you realize you can't do that by yourself. You need to get help from someone else. Or if you're someone who has access to game consoles and 2 games, you can trade it yourself, and well, that's just kind of lonely. I mean, if you're a completionist and you want to complete the game by yourself, it's doable, but again, it's kind of lonely. But that's with Red and Green or Red and Blue. What about Pokemon Yellow? Can you get all Pokemon in there? Unfortunately, not. But Game Freak was a bit kinder in some areas, because in Pokemon Yellow is made to be based off the anime, which is why your starter in this game is Pikachu. But your rival is such a jerk about it. I mean, originally your Professor Oak is going to give you an Eevee, but then your rival literally pushes you out of the way to grab Eevee's Pokeball from you, claiming that, "No, I want this, it's mine!" I mean, he doesn't say it like that, but that's essentially what he says. So then, earlier, you're attacked in the wild grass by a Pikachu. Professor Oak catches that Pikachu, and he gives it to you. So then Pikachu is your starter, but this Pikachu, just like the one based on the anime, doesn't want to evolve. So therefore, that's already a version exclusive-ish kind of thing right there. You cannot evolve Pikachu Raichu, so therefore that's one Pokemon down that you cannot get. And there are 12 more Pokemon in the game that you cannot get, so there are a total of 13 version exclusives for Pokemon Yellow, which brings the number from 150 all the way down to 137 right off the bat. And just like Red and Blue, there are other things you can get. Like, once again, you can only get one Fossil, you only get one Eevee, and you can only choose one of the Hitmons, which brings your number down all the way to 132. But Game Freak was also a bit nicer because there's a non-player character or NPC you can encounter in the game, which will offer you a Machoke to trade in exchange for a Cubone. Nice, meaning that once that Machoke is traded to you, it evolves into Machamp, meaning you get one of the exclusive, you can get a traded Pokemon given to you, which brings the number down to 129 out of 150. Not a better number than 124, was it? Yeah, 124 Pokemon you can get from Red and Blue. So 86% of the Pokemon are available to you, which is a nicer number. Not wish it was still in the 90s, but still better than lower. You can't be picky. So essentially in Pokemon Yellow, the version exclusives are the Ekans and Arbok line, Vulpix and Ninetales, Mankey and Primeape, Bellsprout, Weepinbell, Victreebel, Electabuzz, and Magmar. For some odd reason are... well... actually, I take that back. That was not Pokemon Yellow. Those Pokemon I just mentioned, those are Pokemon found in the Japanese version of Pokemon Blue. You see, that's actually some interesting information right there, because, well, Japan originally released Red and Green. Japan had its own version of Pokemon Blue, which is actually quite different from the Pokemon Blue that those in North America and other countries got, because Pokemon Japanese Blue version had version exclusives that are also quite different. I already mentioned non-player characters training your Pokemon, like the yellow version's Cubone for Machoke, then evolve into Machamp trade. Well, Pokemon Red and Blue have other NPCs that also trade your Pokemon. Like in Red and Blue, you can trade an Abra to get Mr. Mime, or you can trade a Poliwhirl for Jinx. Those are Pokemon that can only be obtained through trades. However, in the Japanese Pokemon Blue, the Lickitung and Jinx trades were altered, and for some reason you can trade for Tauros and Kangaskhan, which is kind of strange considering in red and blue, and then later on yellow, you can find those in the Safari Zone, so a bit of a strange design choice. But speaking of yellow, once again, the starters, you can obtain them throughout the game, just like Ash does in the anime. In this case, you can get Bulbasaur in Cerulean City. In order to get that one, you need Pikachu's friendship to be high enough. Charmander is given to you in the route that's north of Cerulean City, so you can actually get those two starters pretty close to one another. But Squirtle, you have to beat Lieutenant Surge's gym, which is actually a horrible time to get Squirtle. And honestly, that's also a bit of a strange and awkward time to get Charmander too. I mean, if you get it after you beat Misty at Cerulean City, that's okay, I guess, but it's not going to be horribly useful until you get to the 4th gym. And Squirtle, he's not useful for a while too, because the 3rd gym and 4th gym, also not useful. I should actually mention about gyms myself. So gyms, they're essentially the boss battles of the game. So you get to Pokemon, I mean, it's not Pokemon, well, I mean, you can use your Pokemon battle, but once you get to Pewter City, the gym leader there is Brock, and he uses rock-type Pokemon. So then, if you chose Bulbasaur or Squirtle for your starters, if you're playing Pokemon Red and Blue or Green, they're going to have an easy time with it because grass and water-type moves are super effective on rock Pokemon, like Brock uses. And if you chose Bulbasaur, you're also going to have an easy time with Misty because she has water-type Pokemon. Charmander, being a fire-type, he's essentially... Pokemon doesn't really have a difficulty mode of sorts, but your starter essentially determines how easy the game can be for you. So if you chose Charmander, the beginning of the game is really going to be an uphill battle. You're going to be either relying on other Pokemon you catch, or you're going to be really struggling with your starter, like going through a lot of resets of sorts, because Pokemon doesn't really have a game over. You essentially enter into a battle. If all Pokemon in your team faints, then you're sent back to the last Pokemon you healed at, Pokemon Center actually, and your Pokemon's healed up, and then you lose, I believe it's half your money. They might change in future Pokemon games. I'm not sure. I never got to a game over in the more recent games, but in the older games, in like first generation, Kanto, Red and Blue, I believe you lost half of your money, which is a bit strange considering you can heal at Pokemon Center anytime for free, so why they take half your money is beyond me, but that's what if maybe you had to pay for an ambulance to take you there. Who knows? But actually another thing. Teams. So Pokemon, you can only have 6 Pokemon with you at a time. So with your starter, that's 1 Pokemon. Then as you continue going through the game, traveling through different routes, caves, areas, etc., you can capture any number of Pokemon to fill up your team. 5. Or you can just not catch any at all and just run through the game with your starter, but that's not recommended because, well, you need variety. Because in order to battle different trainers and gym leaders, they all have different types, and so your starter, like Charmander for example, is not going to be able to help you at all in the first 2 gyms all that much, unless you enjoy seeing it's super effective and your Charmander's HP going down to 0 very quickly after getting hit with a super effective hit. So having versatility in your team is a good thing. But that's just it. Your team can only have up to 6 Pokemon hits, so then if you catch more, what happens to the 7th Pokemon you caught? It gets sent to the portable system, your PC, your personal computer, that you can find at any Pokemon Center. You interact with the PC, then you enter into Bill's PC, who is the person who created this Pokemon storage system. So you enter Bill's PC, and then you can organize your Pokemon boxes any way you like. Each box in the first generation games can hold up to 20 Pokemon in each box, and you can switch between boxes to organize your Pokemon. So that's how you can store your Pokemon, and I believe that in the first generation you can have, I believe it's up to 14 boxes, so if each box holds 20 Pokemon, that can easily hold up to as many Pokemon as you want if you only have 1 of each Pokemon available to you. So yeah, go ahead and catch them. But that's just it. Pokeballs require money to buy, so then how do you get money? Well, that's where trainers come in, like gym leaders at the gyms. Each time you be a trainer, for some reason they just fork over their money whenever you win. It's kind of a strange system, but that's how you earn money in the game. You beat trainers. And then you spend that money, buy more Pokeballs, maybe potions, status healers. It works. And even repels too, if you want to skip all those random encounters, because once you get later on in the game, you really don't want to face off against all those wild Pokemon and when you enter caves, because you just want to get through the cave, solve the dungeon. Yeah, facing off those wild encounters, especially if you already caught all the Pokemon in that very area, you really want to reduce those encounters. They can really get intrusive on your game time. And I just realized, I didn't mention the yellow exclusive completely, did I? So like I was saying, you get all the stars as gifts, and Pikachu cannot evolve. But other Pokemon that cannot be found in Pokemon Yellow include the Weedle line of Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill. Like I said, Pikachu is by himself, but also you cannot get Ekans, Arbok, Coughing, Wheezing, Meowth, Persian, Jinx, and Magmar, along with Electabuzz. Not sure why Jinx, Magmar, and Electabuzz aren't there. I mean, they're version exclusives for Red and Blue, so maybe that's why. But Ekans, Coughing, and Meowth lines, those ones aren't there because those are owned by Jesse and James from Team Rocket. That's why they make cameos in Pokemon Yellow because, like I said, Pokemon Yellow was based off the anime, and so since Jesse, James, and Team Rocket were there, I guess they just wanted those Pokemon to be more unique, so they took them out of the Pokemon Yellow. But, like I already mentioned, all starters are there and they're earned as gifts. And then we have the gym leaders. I should probably mention those more in detail because I already mentioned the first two. So like I said, Brock, he trains in rock types. Misty trains in water types. Then you have Lieutenant Surge, who trains electric types. Erica, who runs a grass type gym. And this is where the game actually gets a little interesting. The 5th and 6th gyms, you can fight them in any order you want. But my recommendation is go down to Fuchsia City to fight Koga, the poison type specialist, before going to Saffron City and fighting Sabrina, the psychic type trainer. Then you go to Cinnabar Island to face off Blaine and his fire types, who started the meme of better have a burn heal. And finally, you have Giovanni, who has ground type Pokemon at Viridian City. Yep, the game goes full circle. I mentioned Viridian City earlier. That's the second area, town, city you can venture to if you include your hometown. So yeah, the first town you exit and enter after Route 1, Viridian City, that's where the 8th gym is located, and Giovanni is located there. You may be wondering why I sound strange about that. It's because I mentioned Team Rockets earlier. That's an evil crime organization that's plaguing the Pokemon franchise, or just specifically the Kanto region. An organization that wants to take over the world using Pokemon, as well as other means. But essentially, they believe that strong Pokemon will help them take over the world, which is pretty true. I mean, if a Pokemon's high level enough, you can then beat down other high level trainers and therefore become the strongest, and then technically take over the region, or the world. But back then, they believed Kanto was the only part of the world because they hadn't introduced other regions yet. And like I said earlier, you fight Team Rocket throughout different parts of the game, but the first time you actually see them is in Mount Moon, because apparently they're looking for fossil Pokemon, because they want to track down these fossils, clean them all for themselves, and then revive them, so they can get all the fossil Pokemon for themselves, and they will have strong ancient Pokemon on their side. But once you beat them Mount Moon, you won't see them again for quite a while, at least until you get to Cerulean City. You find one Team Rocket grunt by himself who apparently stole a technical machine, or TM. I'll talk about that a bit later. And then you find Team Rocket's base beneath the Celadon City Game Corner. Yep, you know all those Pokemon you're buying for prizes? That's Team Rocket's way of earning money for themselves. Yep, they had a way of fundraising. All those coins you traded in for money, it's going to Team Rocket. You're aiding a crime organization without even knowing. So is everyone else in Celadon City. So then you fight Giovanni in Celadon City's the Game Corner underground base. And then you earn an item called the Silph Scope, which then you take to Lavender Town, in which you find Team Rocket there again. So after you chase them out of the Lavender Town Pokemon Tower, then you go to Saffron City and you find they've taken over the Silph Company there. And then when you fight Giovanni there, and then plot twist. Giovanni is the gym leader of the Viridian City Gym. But after you beat him there, Giovanni says that he's gonna leave, go on a training journey, he'll be back. He disappears, and he's never seen from again. Well, in the first generation anyway. But no, the Game Corner, and I said trading for prizes, you're probably wondering what Pokemon you can earn from the Game Corner. Well, in Pokemon Red, if you're trading coins, you can buy yourself, literally, an Abra, Clefairy, Nidorina, Dratini, Scyther, or Porygon. Porygon's the most ridiculous. Why? Well, do you want to spend 9,900 coins? Well, 9,999 coins on a single Pokemon. That's the max number of coins you can store in the coin case key item. Yeah. And in Pokemon Green, or Blue version, essentially you can get the same, very similar Pokemon. Abra, Clefairy, but in this case you can get Nidorino, Dratini, Pinsir, and Porygon. But in Pokemon Blue version, or Green, Porygon comes in much cheaper. I believe it's 6,000 coins. It's still a lot, but better than over 9,000. And then we have Pokemon Yellow. Also a very similar, but still diverse Pokemon you can buy there. In this case, it's Abra, Vulpix, Wigglytuff, Scyther, Pinsir, and once again Porygon. And just like Pokemon Red, they decided to make Porygon's cost 9,999. But in my opinion, it's the Japanese Blue version that has the very interesting Pokemon you can buy there. Because in that one, you can buy an Abra, a Pikachu, Horsey, Clefable, Dragonair, and Porygon. The Clefable and Dragonair ones are the most interesting ones there. I have no idea why they did that, but that's just very interesting. So then, you're probably wondering to yourself at this point, I mentioned all these Pokemon you can obtain, or those are version exclusives. So then, how do you obtain them all? Well, like I said, if you just get, you need to find someone with the opposite version of you, or you have two game consoles, then the best way to do it is just have just Red and Blue. Because with the version exclusives that Pokemon Yellow has, you can't obtain them all that way. So if you just like have one game console, one Game Boy has Pokemon Red, the other game console Pokemon Yellow, you can still get all the Pokemon, you just can't catch them all. So Red and Blue is the best way to go. But if you're just a collector and you like Pokemon Yellow stuff, because Pokemon Yellow added a few things that Pokemon Red and Blue did not have. For one, it has color. Pikachu follows you around and interacts with you, and is the first instance of Pokemon friendship. In addition, for some reason, in Red and Blue, Charizard cannot learn Fly. So, yeah, if you want to teach your Charizard Fly, it can learn it in in Pokemon Yellow. And that's actually another thing I should mention. Like Fly, these come from things called Hidden Machines moves, or HM moves. Essentially, this is how it works. Game Freak developed Pokemon in ways that, oh hey, there's things blocking your path. You cannot continue on the game. In order to get past these things, this is where HM moves come in. These are essentially the field moves that help you progress in the game. So, for instance, Fly, that Charizard can learn Pokemon Yellow, helps you fly around the world map, the places you've already been to, which makes fast travel to areas you've already been to much easier in case you want to, like, say, fly from Cerulean City to Fuchsia City so you can buy more Ultra Balls. That'll save a lot of time because traveling from Cerulean to Fuchsia, maybe take like 5 to 10 minutes, but if you fly, it's like 5 seconds depending. So yeah, real time saver there. And then there's other HM moves like Cut, which cuts down trees or bushes in your way. And there are quite a few. Like for instance, for some reason Lieutenant Surge is a very sadistic person. He plants an unpassable tree that you can't just walk around in front of his gym. If you skip his gym and come back later, you can technically surf on the body wall to get to his gym, but if you want to beat him right then and there, you need Cut to get to him. So you need to get to HM for Cut to get to that tree and other locations in order to progress in the game. And then, like I said, there's surfing. There's a move called Surf that allows you to surf on water. That's how you cross the ocean or go on lakes, rivers, and whatnot. And then finally, there's two more. The next HM move that's actually only used like once in the game is Flash. This is considered one of the most, almost as useless as Cut, because Flash is used to lighten up dark areas. And then the final HM is Strength. This pushes boulders out of your way or onto trigger switches or pressure switches, because there are some points in the game that you need to push boulders out of your way because they're blocking your path and you need to use them to solve puzzles. So in order to use these moves, you need to teach HM moves in order to get through these areas. But HM moves are very irritating because once you teach an HM move to a Pokemon, they cannot be forgotten. They cannot be deleted. So for instance, say you have your Squirtle that's eventually a Blastoise and you taught it Surf. But eventually you're like, I want to delete Surf. I wanted to learn Hydro Pump. You cannot do that. And unfortunately, Generation 1's Kanto games of Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow, there's no way to delete HM moves in the game. Your Pokemon are forever stuck with those moves. So, for instance, you taught your Venusaur Cut. Sorry to say, it's stuck with that useless move because Cut has a very low attacking power, so therefore it's not really a great move in battle to use. Which brings up a rather interesting thing about meme about HM moves. In later generations, HM moves become very irritating. I'm probably going to mention that so much more later on. But Generation 7, which HM moves are removed, let's just say Pokemon fans are literally praising the gods. They were bowing to the heavens that Game Freak decided to remove them. So if you're playing the older Pokemon games, sorry, you're stuck with HM moves. You just have to deal with it. But if you want my honest opinion, HM move strength is not horrible if you teach it to our normal type Pokemon. But moves like Fly, it's okay on a flying type, but it's not the best thing in the world, but Cut and Flash are definitely two moves you really don't want to have to deal with. So then you need to find a Pokemon that unfortunately will be called an HM slave because all the only moves they will have and know and be used for in your team are HM moves, which is kind of sad, but in order to get through the game, it's kind of required since you don't want to teach your main team any real HM moves because they will just plug up the 4 spaces they need to learn real attacks. So for instance, you can teach, say, a Kadabra Flash, which is not the worst thing in the world because Kadabra is not exactly the most versatile when it comes to moves. I mean, you can teach it Sidekick and Recover, and maybe Reflect, but beyond that, what's that 4th move slot going to be used for? Psybeam? So Flash is kind of somewhat useful. I mean, it reduces your opponent's accuracy, but on that one turn you used to use Flash to reduce your accuracy, you could have done damage to your opponent using Psychic. So I don't know. It depends on your battling style and choice. If you want to use a support move like Flash or use an offensive move like Psychic, it's up to you. That's what's actually fun about Pokemon. Everything is your choice. You have to decide what you want to do with it. So then your movesets, like I said, it's up to you. So yeah. But Pokemon itself, the Pokemon themselves, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, Pokemon actually come in 14 different types in the first generation. But these types themselves, if you look at Pokemon's like stat menu, summary, you'll notice that Pokemon have a variety of stats. There's their HP or health points, then they have what's known as the attack, defense, speed, and special stats in Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow. And that's actually very interesting because the attack and special attack, you're like, what's up with this? Why don't I just have attack and defense stat? What's with this special stat going on here? That's actually a very interesting point to bring up because Pokemon types, depending on what type of Pokemon move is, it actually determines which stat is used. So for instance, like I said earlier, if you're using a Bulbasaur, when it starts off the game, it starts with the move Tackle. And since Tackle is a normal type move, how much damage Tackle does is based on the attack stat. And if you want to look at this on the special stat, that one is based on, I should probably just, like I said, there are 14 types in the game. So those types are normal, grass, fire, water, electric, fighting, poison, ground, ice, flying, psychic, bug, rock, ghost, and dragon. Those are the 14 Pokemon types. And depending on what type of move your Pokemon knows, like say Bulbasaur wants to use its grass type move Vine Whip, the damage it's done is determined by the special stat. That's right. Pokemon attacks and the damage they do is dependent on what stat it is, and it is used, but whether it's being the attack stats or the special stats being used is determined by the Pokemon's move's type. So since, like I said, Tackle, being used by Bulbasaur, is a normal type move. And since it's a normal type move, that means it's using the attack stat. Or say Squirtle, who uses like say Water Gun, that's a water type move. And since Water Gun's a water type move, it's using the special stat. So I'll just list, that may sound a bit confusing, but once you get a hang of it, it just becomes a bit natural. I mean, Pokemon's it's about memorization. You need to memorize what types of Pokemon are and what types the attacks are and the effectiveness that each move has on a Pokemon. It's like rock, paper, scissors. Just knowing that rock is effective against paper, paper is effective. Let me restart it. Paper is effective on rock, rock's effective on scissors, and scissors is effective on paper. Pokemon's the same way. You just need to know the Pokemon type charts and what's effective on not, or what's not effective on others. So in this case, normal, fighting, poison, ground, flying, bug, rock, and ghost type moves are all attack stat based, meaning all those attacks use the attack stat. And then the special stat, those moves are grass, fire, water, electric, ice, psychic, and dragon. If that's confusing to you, for the special stat, just think of all the EV evolutions. Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Hespeon, Umbreon, Glaceon, and Leafeon. All those types are special moves. So if you remember what types are special, just think of the evolution line. Yes, that's an actual term, evolution. That's a fan-made term that just stuck onto the series. So just think of Eevee and its evolutions, and you can remember what types are special. That's important to know. However, other things that are also important to know is excuse me there, people, is the special type attack bonus that can be earned in battle. Give me a second. Sorry, getting a little thirsty there. So as I was saying, same type attack bonus. This comes into play when a Pokemon, like say Squirtle, uses a water type attack. And since Squirtle, a water type Pokemon himself, is using a water type move, the attack that Water Gun will do to the opponent will deal 1.5 times more damage. That may not sound all that impressive, but trust me, using the same type attack bonus is very important in Pokemon because the more damage you do, the better the results, and therefore the faster you defeat your opponent. So that's very important to keep in mind when you're teaching Pokemon moves. So, for instance, say you have a Meowth, and you teach it like Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, and say maybe like Bite in like later games. None of those are normal type moves. I mean, Bite isn't a normal type move in Generation 1. That's because the drug type hasn't been introduced yet. So, with the exclusion of Bite, Meowth has no normal type moves, so it won't get the same type attack bonus, which makes Meowth, well, it has a versatile moveset. You can't take advantage of its same type attack bonus, which is a bit of a shame. Because, like I said, same type attack bonus, you want to deal more damage. So, yeah, you're losing out on that 1.5 boost, which can really change the outcome of a battle with that little bit of damage. Like, you'll probably be slamming your head against the desk if you literally see your opponent's HP bar go down so slowly and then just stops, like, literally a little bit in the red. Looks like as if the HP bar is only like 2 HP left. So, just because you didn't use the same type of attack bonus, that's really important to keep in mind. But other damage effective moves, if you use a move that's just like effective on a Pokemon, like say for instance you use a grass type move on a normal type Pokemon, that's just effective damage. So just times 1 damage. And you use a not very effective, unfortunately the damage is half at 0.5. And then you deal a super effective move that's 2 times more damage. So in the long run, you always want to go for the more super effective type attacks. Like I said, grass is super effective on water, water is super effective on fire, and fire is super effective on grass. You usually always want to go for that 2 times super effective, although your opponent in battle always has the option to switch out their Pokemon, out of battle and place for another one in their party. So for instance, say you have a Bulbasaur attempting to use a grass type Vine Whip on a water type Squirtle. Your opponent always has the option to switch out their Squirtle for, say, a Pidgey, who's a flying type who resists grass type moves. So they only take 0.5 times damage instead of the 2 times super effective hit that Squirtle would have taken. This is where strategy really comes into play. And if you take advantage of this, you can really change the outcome of battle in your favor, whether it be against a real life person or against a computer. So it's really important to keep in mind. So at this point, I think I should go on to talking about technical machines, or TMs now. I already mentioned HMs. These are found throughout the game that help you progress in the story against the story game's roadblocks. But technical machines are where things really become interesting in the Pokemon game, because this is their mechanic. You find TMs just lying around, or you earn them as prizes. You can talk to a person, they just give you the TM randomly, just because you either helped them out in some way, like giving them drinks. You earn them as prizes from gyms. You find them lying on the ground, or maybe just an old man who just spends way too much talking, like I'm doing right now, talking about his favorite Pokemon. And then you have these TMs. They can teach your Pokemon a move. But unfortunately, you only get one TM in the game. For the most part, you can buy some of them from, like, say, the Celadon City department store, but other TMs you only get one of in the game. So therefore, you really have to think carefully about who you're going to teach it to, because once that TM is used, it's gone forever. So another choice you have to think about in the game. Yeah, Game Freak is giving you a lot of choices here. So then you go through the game. You've beaten the 8 gym leaders. You've beaten Team Rocket. You have the badges in the game. I should also mention that too. The badges. You earn these from the gym leaders. So by beating Brock and Peter, you earned a Boulder badge. Beating Misty at Cerulean gives you the Cascade badge. Lieutenant Surge at Vermilion gives you the Thunder badge. Erica at Celadon gives you the Rainbow badge. Koga at Fuchsia gives you the Soul badge. Sabrina at Saffron gives you the Marsh badge. Blaine at Cinnabar Island gives you the Volcano badge. And finally, Giovanni at Viridian City gives you the Earth badge. And depending on how many badges you have, it actually determines how Pokemon will actually obey you. That's right, if your Pokemon get too high level, they can actually start disobeying you. But actually, that only refers to the Pokemon you receive from trades. So like, say the Pokemon you receive from, like, NPCs or the ones you traded from a friend. Game Freak is actually pretty smart about that, because you can't just have one game file, have another game file, trade, like, say, your level 100 Alakazam into the game and just try to steamroll the game without 100 Alakazam. It won't work because it's not your Pokemon that you didn't catch and train. The Pokemon doesn't recognize you as its original trainer, therefore it will not obey you. That's where badges come in. The more badges you have, the more Pokemon will obey you. In Generation 1, having 2 badges, this Cascade badge, Pokemon up to level 30 will obey you. Having this Celadon City's Rainbow badge, Pokemon level 50 will obey you. Saffron City's Marsh badge, Pokemon up to level 70 will obey you. And finally, having the Earth badge. Any Pokemon of any level will obey you, regardless of its level or who it originally belonged to. So that's just a thing to keep in mind. Like I said, after you beat all 8 badges and beat all 8 gyms and earn the 8 badges, what's next in the game? You then travel to Indigo Plateau and challenge the Elite Four, the 4 strongest trainers in the region. And once you beat them, you're the champion! If only it was that easy. You know how I mentioned your rival who you somehow had a feud with since you were in diapers? He's been besting you this entire journey. He actually encounters you several times throughout the journey. He's kind of like your checkpoint of sorts, other than the boss battles, the gym leaders. Your rival also checks how strong you're getting, and he challenges you at random points in the game. The first time he challenges you, as soon as you choose your starter. Well, and you choose your starter, you try leaving Professor Oak's lab, then he challenges you. And then when you beat him, he makes an excuse saying he chose the wrong Pokemon and you just got lucky. Next time you can beat him, or he challenges you, is after you drop off Professor Oak's parcel, you receive the Pokédex for real, and then you go to the route that's to the left of Viridian City. This is actually how you get to the Indigo Plateau, the Pokemon League. But then your rival stops you and saying, the guard up ahead stops him because he didn't have any badges, so he just decides to move on to Pure City, but on the way, since he's on his way back to Viridian City, he wants to challenge you and see how you're doing. After that, next time your rival challenges you is when you're in Cerulean City. When you go north of Cerulean City and try to get to the Nugget Bridge, which eventually leads to Bill's house. He challenges you there. When you're on the SS Anne ship, when you're around Vermilion City, he challenges you there as well. Next time you encounter him is in the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. Then, once again, in the Sylph Company, he challenges you. Yeah. Team Rocket's in the Sylph Company, taking over, and you're forcing Team Rocket out of there. And your rival just wants to challenge you for some reason that did. After that, he doesn't bother you again until you got all 8 badges and you're on your way to from Viridian City to the Pokemon League. He challenges you there as your final checkpoint, and then finally, you've gotten to the Pokemon League. You've beaten all 4 members of the Elite Four. The Ice-type Lorelei, the Fighting-type Bruno, the Ghost-type Agatha, and finally the Dragon-type Expert Lance. You've beaten all 4 of these master trainers. And then you find out your rival, he beat you to it. He became champion before you did. So then you fight your rival, who's now champion. And then after that, the game's clear. You've beaten the game. Congratulations! But the game's not over yet. You still have more Pokemon to catch. So at this point, after you become champion, essentially the rest of the game is just catching them all. Running around to those other locations, like say earning enough money to buy coins at the game corner to get Pokemon that way, tracking out Pokemon in other tall grass locations, walking through caves, more surfing, other gifts that you can find all over the place. Fishing, I mentioned that too. You can find 3 different kinds of rods in the game. The old rod, which only finds Magikarp. The super rod, which finds some more rare Pokemon. Wait, did I say super rod? I meant the good rod. That's the second one you can get. The super rod is the strongest rod you can find. These find the really strong Pokemon. And the more rare ones too. And then you have the Safari Zone, which is a place you can find a future city. You spend 500 Pokédollars to enter it, and then you can find lots of rare Pokemon that you cannot find anywhere else in the game. Like say, if you want to find a Kangaskhan, for example, I mentioned, or maybe a Tauros, or the very elusive Chansey. Oh dear Lord Arceus, the Chansey. Chansey is the rarest Pokemon you can find in the game because it's a 1% encounter in the grass in the Safari Zone. Yeah, 1%. One of the first Pokemon that has a 1% encounter rate. But then, the Game Freak was even more generous. They decided to make things even more irritating. Because in Safari Zone, you don't battle the Pokemon. You encounter them, then you have 4 options. The first one is the runaway option if you don't want to deal with the Pokemon. The original option you can first choose that replaces the battle option is to throw the Pokeball, or in this case the Safari Ball, because you need the reason you paid 500 Pokédollars is to get 20 Safari Balls, or I think it was 30. Either way, you need these Safari Balls to catch the Pokemon in Safari Zone. And then the other 2 options, you can either choose to throw bait at the Pokemon, which prevents Pokemon from fleeing the battle, but it also makes them hard to catch. And then you can also throw a rock at Pokemon. I know, such violence. You can literally throw a rock at them. The rocks make it easier to catch the Pokemon, but also makes them, well, it makes it easier to catch them, it also makes them more likely to run from you. So yeah, both options, either choosing to throw a rock or tossing bait, the options are not really great. So your only real choice is just throw the Safari Ball and hope for the best and that the random number generator is in your favor. But the reason why Chansey is so hard is because in order to catch this Pokemon, you have to throw rocks at it. And unfortunately, Chansey has a very easy run rate. I mean, you can just throw 1 Safari Ball and Chansey will probably just run right then and there. So then the fact you have to throw multiple rocks at it, at the very least I think like 5, in order to Chansey somewhat even slightly catchable, is just ridiculous. And then, like I said, the other Pokemon like Chansey and Tauros and Kangaskhan, Kangaskhan and Tauros, they're also just as, not as hard as Chansey, but also just as irritating because as soon as you throw 1 rock, the chance of them leave on the first turn is like almost like 100%. If they don't leave, you are so lucky. So then if you just throw your Safari Ball after that, the chance of them being caught should be relatively okay-ish. I mean, Safari Balls, from my experience, seem to have the same catch rate as a Great Ball, which is not exactly much greater than a Pokeball, but just try your luck. You may catch them, you never know. So then, you go to the game, tall grass, caves. What else is there? Well then, this is where the dungeons I mentioned come into play. And actually that's where some extras come to the game. You can find legendary Pokemon in these games. So then you're probably just exploring around, and then like you just decide, I want to go surf. I want to surf to the right or to the east of Cinnabar Island. You find this island just sitting there, and you enter it. It's like, whoa, where am I? Welcome to the Sea of Foam Islands, one of the extra dungeons of the game. And then you find this one area. You're like surfing on this area that's to the right of Cerulean City. You saw this patch of water. Okay, I'll just surf down this river, and you find this building. Welcome to the power plant. Or you're just going through Victory Road and you find this one extra area that's just there. It's like, okay, I'll just explore. And then you just find this bird-like creature just sitting at the end of it, just sitting there. Like you might, if you're still listening to this podcast, I'm thank you for your time so far. I mentioned earlier how you can encounter Pokemon. Another was interaction. This is what I meant. Pokemon can just be sitting there on the world map, just waiting for you to interact with and engage the battle. These Pokemon Generation 1 are the legendary Pokemon. So in the Sea of Foam Islands, once you get to the end, it's Articuno. In the power plant, you can find Zapdos. In Victory Road, you can find Moltres. And finally, at the final area, you've always thought early in the game, there's like the person just standing in front of a cave entrance, and if you actually surf to him, he'll prevent you from entering the cave. That cave is the Unknown Dungeon. And that's where Mewtwo is. That's right. If you heard about legendary Pokemon, you probably heard about Mewtwo. And Mewtwo is waiting at the end of the Unknown Dungeon. But these legendary Pokemon are the hardest Pokemon to catch in the game because for some odd reason, Generation 1, you can't just throw your Pokeballs, Great Balls, Ultra Balls willy-nilly at any Pokemon. Because against legendary Pokemon, if you decide to just toss out your like Great Balls or Pokeballs just randomly, it'll somehow say, whoops, you somehow missed. Well, I mean, it doesn't say, oops, you missed a Pokemon. It's like, what? You're just sitting there. How did you dodge a Pokeball? I'm throwing this at you. So that's where the damaging comes into play, but also damaging, I mean, you can lower the legendary Pokemon down to like the yellow, red health, but then you start throwing your Ultra Balls, which are the strongest Pokemon you can buy in the game. But then you realize it still won't allow you to catch it for some reason. Yeah, this is a bit of a weird programming fault that they put into the first generation. So then you're thinking, how do I catch it? This is where status moves comes to play. And there are a few status moves in the game. There's Poison, Burn, Paralysis, and Sleep. Did I mention Freeze? I think so. Well, if I didn't, there you go. You can either poke Pokemon to sleep, you can poison them, paralyze them, burn them, put them to sleep, or freeze them. You have those options. Unfortunately, most of those cannot be done willy-nilly, or I should say on command, because those moves don't exist back in the first generation. This mostly applies to Burn and Freeze. If you teach your Pokemon move Thunder Wave, then you can paralyze them. If you know Sleep Powder or Spore or Hypnosis, you can put them to sleep that way. And in Poison, you can teach them Toxic or Poison Powder, but honestly I wouldn't recommend those moves. So for the most part, you want to either paralyze the Pokemon or put them to sleep, because inflicting status conditions also makes Pokemon easier to catch. But in terms of legendaries, you only want 2 status conditions, either freeze or sleep. In this case, sleep, because for some reason, Pokemon, like in anime, they're moving around on the battlefield, they won't stand still, they won't let you throw your Pokeball at them. So then, you need to throw your Pokeball when the Pokemon's asleep. That's your best shot. Lower their HP, put them to sleep, start throwing your Ultra Balls. Or, you can throw a Master Ball at them if you're so inclined. But just like TMs, you only get 1 Master Ball. Or do you? So then this comes to another point. Once you capture all the legendaries, complete your Pokedex, congratulations, you caught them all! But you also can do other things in the game too. This actually brings up several things that help people make Pokemon more interesting. You can do what's a speed run of the game, which is just literally going through the game as quickly as possible to see how quickly you can get through the game. For me personally, I can get through the first generation games if I didn't take any breaks, or if I did for maybe using the restroom or food. I'd say I can get through the game maybe within 8 to 10 hours or so, depending. But the real speed record of the game is I think it's 1.5 hours, maybe even less. Yeah, that sounds like a crazily daunting challenge. I mean, how in the world do you do that? Well, then the first generation game came out in 1996, so the game software back then was very different from how it is now, from all the high-tech graphics that you're so used to, that some of you probably used to seeing in Pokemon, that makes it so 3D and beautiful to look at. But in the first generation, red, green, blue, yellow, we're stuck with pixelated sprites and whatnot. And because of all the program differences, there are lots of glitches you can take advantage of, and one of these glitches. Many Pokemon fans know about this glitch. This is known as the missing no glitch, or the item duplication glitch. So essentially how it works is, first off, you can take any item in your bag and place it into 6 item slots. Then talk to the old man in Viridian City who teaches you how to attach Pokemon, watch his tutorial, and then fly to Cinnabar Island. And once you get to Cinnabar Island, you can fly up and down the coast of Cinnabar Island's right side. Do not go further left, just surf directly on the edge of the island, go up and down. And I'm no expert at programming, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but essentially what's going on is, since you watched the old man's tutorial, your trainer name is changed to Old Man. And since it's saved in the wild Pokemon memory, it causes some glitchy things to happen, and you'll come across this strange pixelated L thingamabob. And then when you encounter it, it'll make some strange noise. Mine usually sounds like a Zapdos for some reason. It comes at a strange level, maybe level 0 or 128 or something, depending on what you named your trainer at the beginning of the game. I think is how it's determined, its level. But essentially, as soon as you encounter it, you can just run from the battle, or you can actually try to defeat it if you want. And then you look at your item, the 6 item slot, it's like, wow, it's like you originally had 1 item, and then else it's like times 9 in this weird symbol pixelated thingamabob. Essentially what that means is because the games can't count that high, your item storage now has 128 of the items. So say you used it on a Master Ball, you now will have 128 Master Balls, and people use this glitch like crazy. Say like on rare candies, PP-ups, on their TMs. It's actually possible to even use this glitch on key items. More specifically, on the fossil you get from Mount Moon, or on the old amber you can obtain in Pewter City. So you can get an infinite number of the fossil Pokemon or Aerodactyls. Well, not infinite because it's times 128, but that's essentially what this glitch allows you to do. It's referred to as the infinite item glitch, or just item duplication. And that's just one glitch that many people can utilize in the game. So you remember how earlier I said you can only maybe get like 84 or 86% of the Pokemon in a single playthrough of the game on a single game cartridge? So he said you only buy 1 copy of the game, Pokemon Red, you can only get 84% of it. Well then, if you use the next glitch I'm going to mention, you can actually technically, through a lot of technical details, obtain all 150, maybe even technically 151, because Mew, the 151st Pokemon, can only be obtained in the game through glitching. And this is done through implementing what's known as the Ditto glitch. So essentially how this works is, first off, you need to get a Pokemon with a certain special stat. So let's use Mew for example. You need to find a Pokemon with a special stat of 21. And it just all happens in the game. You can actually do this as soon as you get to Cerulean City. You can set it up so then there's a trainer in the Cerulean City gym. He first sounds out a Horsey. You defeat that Horsey, then you fight against his Shelder that he has. And that Shelder has a special stat of 21. But how that also works is, that's for later, don't fight him yet. You can then travel to the route north of Cerulean City, and then once you get past Nugget Bridge, you'll see the little river on your left, and then you walk over to the left some more, and you'll find a patch of grass, and inside the patch of grass, at the very edge of it, is a Gambler trainer. Do not battle him. How this works is, you want to save your game directly when he's like not in your line of sight, like directly above him, north of him, when he's like directly on line of sight. Save your game here, and then as soon as you walk down, how it works is you need to open up the menu as soon as you walk into his line of sight. Because as soon as you do your next step and you exit the menu, the battle will initiate. That's not what you want to happen. You want to walk into his line of sight, open up your menu. As soon as you're in line of sight, he will not battle you because you're in your menu. So technically he cannot battle you because you're in the menu. So then you go into your Pokemon menu, and then you need to fly to another destination. In this case, Cerulean City, or you can even use a move like Teleport that Aber knows to teleport back to Cerulean City. And then, as soon as you choose the option to teleport, the Gambler will see you, but the battle with the Gambler will not initiate. However, the game will think you're still in the battle because the trainer saw you. So the next thing you need to do is then enter into an actual battle with another trainer. This trainer needs to be the trainer that has the special set you need. So then from here you enter the Cerulean City gym, you then walk up to that trainer, he sees you, he walks up to you. This is actually important because in order for the glitch to work properly, you need the trainer to actually walk up to you. If you walk directly in front of the trainer, the game will freeze. So you need to walk into the next trainer's line of sight, they will walk up to you, the battle initiates. Defeat that trainer in the Cerulean City gym, beat his Horsey, defeat his Shelder. And this is actually another time you can do something else. When you're battling that very Shelder, you can actually use a move like Growl on it. Because the next time you battle the Pokemon that you're going to try capturing with the glitch, they'll come at level 7. But the trick here is, if you use a move like Growl on it, you'll lower its level by 1. So then you can, if you use Growl on it, that Shelder 6 times, when you then move up, finish the battle, you then exit the gym, you move up to the route north of Cerulean City. Once you do enter the route, your menu will be forced open, and then when you exit the menu, the battle with whatever Pokemon's special stat you entered, battle against last, will be registered, and since you battled against that shelter, the number 21 again, you will encounter Mew when you return to the route. And then, like I said, if you didn't use any growls on that shelter, the Mew will be level 7, but you use 6 growls on it, the Mew will come at level 1. So then you need to battle it, maybe use your Master Ball, or just capture it the old-fashioned way with Pokeballs. But then you have a level 1 Mew. Funny thing about the first 3 generations of Pokemon, generations 1, 2, and 3, like I said, Pokemon are not technically supposed to be at level 1. You're not supposed to obtain them that way. So then you take this Mew, and then look at its summary, and you'll see how much experience it needs to level 2. However, you can do another glitch in this game. Let's say you take the level 1 Mew, put it in the first slot of your party, you go into a battle, switch out Mew for another Pokemon, defeat that Pokemon with your higher level Pokemon, and the Mew will gain a small amount of experience. If the max experience it earns is less than the amount it needs to level up, boom! It will go straight to level 100. So yeah, you can go into Cerulean City, use this glitch to get Mew, and boom, you get level 100 Mew. You can then steamroll through the game that way. And since you caught this Mew, it's your Pokemon. It has your trainer ID and name. It'll obey you no matter how many badges you have. So if you want to use this glitch to get to the game that way, go ahead. It's up to your choice. But to get other Pokemon, you just need to alter whatever special stat they have. But then how this is done differently, you can still use this very same Gambler you found on the route north of Cerulean City, but there's also another Gambler you can find that's to the right of Saffron City. Use either of these Gamblers to initiate the battle. Well then, you walk into the line site, open the pause menu, fly or teleport away, and then for the Ditto glitch, you just need to have a Pokemon in your party that has a special stat who equals a number of a Pokemon you want to encounter. So say you want to fight another Mew, you need to have a Pokemon with a special stat of 21 in your party. So then how it works is you encounter a Pokemon in the wild. In this case, it needs to be Ditto. And this is done after you fly away from the Gambler. You need to battle another trainer first, defeat them, then enter a wild battle with a Ditto. Dittos in Pokemon Red, Green, or Blue can be found on the route to the right of Fuchsia City, or you're playing Pokemon Yellow, they can be found at the basement floor of the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island. But once you encounter the Ditto, you send in the Pokemon that has a special stat that you want, of the Pokemon you want to encounter. Then you let Ditto transform into that Pokemon. Then you can just run from the battle after that. Then you return to the route that you ran away from the Gambler that you flew or teleported away from. The pause menu opens up by itself. You exit the pause menu. Then you enter the battle against the Pokemon you want to encounter. Simple as that. And if you use this glitch over and over again, you can technically capture all 150 Pokemon in a single save file. Or you can also use this glitch to get more EVs, more starters, the other fossil you didn't get, the other Hitmon, all those Pokemon you missed out on. So yeah, that's how you can obtain all the Pokemon. That is if you're actually into using these glitches. But then here's another thing. There's another way you can get all the other starters, fossils, and this is where spin-off games actually come into play. So Pokemon Red and Blue, or Pokemon Red and Green, came out on the Nintendo Game Boy, but there's another console that spin-off games came out on. For the Nintendo 64, Pokemon Stadium was released, and this is a game in which if you insert your Pokemon game cartridge into a game pack and connect that game pack to the Nintendo 64 controller, you can then use the Pokemon that you caught, trained, raised, leveled up in your Pokemon game cartridge, like say Pokemon Blue. You can use those very Pokemon in the Pokemon Stadium game itself. Because Pokemon Stadium, it has rental Pokemon you can use, but honestly, those Pokemon they're garbage. They're horrible. Like, if you were to compare like a Kadabra and Alakazam rental Pokemon, the Kadabra has the better moveset. Alakazam's moveset is horrible. For some reason, they decided to give middle stage Pokemon better movesets in the evolved form, just because they don't want you to use better stats or something. I don't know. They just wanted you to actually work harder on your actual Pokemon save data, so they made your Pokemon that you can earn via rentals not that great. So it's a real incentive to actually train the Pokemon inside your games. if you want to actually use them in Pokemon Stadium, because in Pokemon Stadium it has quite a few battle modes or other things you can have fun with. There's a Gym Leader Castle, which has you battle against the same 8 gym leaders that you did in the actual Pokemon storyline, but each time you enter one of these gyms, you need to battle, I believe there's like 3 regular trainers before you can challenge the gym leader, and you need to beat all those trainers in a row in order to challenge the gym leader. So if you lose at any point in the battle, unfortunately, you have to start over your challenge from the beginning. So besides the Gym Leader Castle, what else is there to do? Well then, as the game is called Pokemon Stadium, you can enter the Stadium Battle Challenge, which has you go into I believe it's the Poke Cup, the Pika Cup, the Little Cup, and the Prime Cup. Each of these different cups have different battle modes you can battle Pokemon in, which has different level restrictions. The Prime Cup has no restrictions whatsoever. However, other battle modes, I believe like the Pika Cup, you need to have Pokemon that are levels 15 to 20, and then when you enter the Pokemon into the actual challenge itself, you need to, the max level has to be 55. So for example, you can enter like say 2 level 15s and 120 for a level of, that adds up to 50 I believe. Or you can enter 3 level 15s and then that adds up to level 45. So it just depends really, and these things get really challenging. And that's where the real challenge of the game comes in, the stadium battles in my opinion. The Gym Leader Castle is not that difficult. It can be a bit irritating to go through, but honestly it's not too difficult. And then you can do other things like Professor Oak's Laboratory. This allows you to then like switch out your PCs. You can interact with like your cartridge stuff, Pokemon on your PC, party and whatnot, if you want to like organize them any way you want. There's also the Dojo Tower, excuse me. And this function actually allows you to play your Pokemon game cartridge when you're connected to Nintendo 64. So if you would say you want to play your Pokemon Red version that you have connected to your game pack in your Nintendo 64, you can now play it on your big screen TV, which is kind of nice. Not to mention, it also has like a speed up function. So if you want to like speed through the game more quickly, you can also use that, which some people really like to do because this really helps the grinding process go by a lot faster. And then there's also, I forget what it's actually called, but essentially it's the Hall of Fame. Essentially any Pokemon that's like beats, that helps you win a stadium battle, that helps you clear the Gym Leader Castle and whatnot, they get sent to the Hall of Fame. Which means all 150 Pokemon can be registered in the Hall of Fame. But you can also get prizes in Pokemon Stadium. But more on that a little bit later. There's also a couple more game modes. There's Free Battle, which allows you to battle with teams rental or in-game. And there's also the Games mode, which is actually kind of fun. You can play these mini-games in Pokemon Stadium. Like, there's this Metapod Kakuna game, which is it's a timing game. Rocks fall from the sky. You need to press the action button at the right time to have your Pokemon hearted itself to protect itself from the falling rocks. And if you mistime it, your Pokemon gets squashed and loses HP. But each time you use harden, your Pokemon loses HP then too. So essentially, it's a contest who can survive the longest. Or there's also, say, a Pikachu Voltorb charging game. This is essentially just button mashing. Like Sandshrew Dig is also button mashing, but there's varied forms. Or you can play as Lickitung and eat sushi. See if you can eat the most amount of valuable sushi, but avoiding the spicy one so you don't waste any valuable time. Play as Drowsy, put yourself to sleep. There's a race as Rattatas. Or my favorite, Clefairy says, memorize the directional arrows that Professor Clefairy puts on the chalkboard, and then input those same command arrows within a time limit, and then whoever makes the most mistakes will lose health by because they get a penalty getting hit on the head with a hammer. Yeah, that's pretty painful. Oh, sorry, you got this wrong. Smack! Loses HP. So it's also a survival game and also memorization. These mini games are fun. So if you get Pokemon Stadium, this is if you want to like take a break from all the fighting you're doing in the Gym Leader Castle and the stadium, you can take a break there. But like I said, the prizes. This is the main reason you probably got Pokemon Stadium if you have only one game cartridge, because you only have one starter, one Eevee, one Hitmon, one Fossil. Well then, once you beat Gym Leader Castle, all your gym leaders, you also get access to fighting against the Elite Four, which you have to fight all 4 of them in a row, and then beat your rival, so that's actually 5 battles in a row. But once you do defeat your rival and clear the Gym Leader Castle for real, Professor Oak will give you a Pokemon randomly. And this is where you get those Pokemon. It can randomly be a Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Eevee, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Ammonite, or Kabuto. It'll be randomly one of those Pokemon. So if you're playing Pokemon Stadium, yeah, that's the real point of getting that game, to get any of those Pokemon that you're missing out on. And there are other Pokemon spin-off games too, like Pokemon Snap on Nintendo 64, or maybe like say the Pokemon Trading Card game you can play on the Nintendo Game Boy, although I don't really know that one. I think there was also one called Pokemon Pinball, and a variety of other things. But yeah, that's Pokemon first generation in a nutshell. That's all the stuff you can do, and essentially the main point is just try to catch them all. And it's really a challenge. But if you can do it, it's just really satisfying to do. So if you can beat the game by collecting all 151 as soon as possible, like say if you have one copy of Pokemon Red on one game console, Pokemon Blue on another game console, and you use those two, if you can get all of them in 12 hours, I say congratulations, because wow, getting all 151 under 12 hours, or less even in 24 hours, like in a day, wow, that's quite the speedrun you've done there. Especially with how annoying some Pokemon can get, because the Safari Zone is probably going to take you the longest amount of time, just because just how luck-oriented that is. Especially with Chansey, even though you can find Chansey in the Unknown Dungeon, but still, if you want to avoid that and get Pokemon elsewhere, it's your choice. Thank you all so much for listening to me. Hope you once again had a great time, and thank you for listening. So this is Jeffro Madness, signing off. Later!
So I want to thank you all for watching. This is actually a repeat of something I uploaded onto SoundCloud a couple of years ago, but I wanted to upload it to YouTube to give people access to it and hearing it. So thank you all for watching and listening for this long if you made it to the end of this podcast video. And if you'd like to hear more from me, because I do intend to upload more in the future, like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you like my content and you'd like to hear more in the future. So stay tuned. This is once again Jeff from Madness, and thank you for coming to Generation Millennium. Bye!